And welcome to today's webinar, Adept Engineering Information Management for Process Industries. My name is Scott Lamond, Vice President of Marketing and Partnerships with Synergis Software, and joining me is Chris Fabry, our Director of Solutions Engineering and Customer Advocacy. Before we get started, I'd like to go over just a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. You've joined the presentation using your computer's speaker system for audio by default, but if you'd prefer to join over the telephone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You'll have the opportunity to submit text questions to myself and Chris by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You can send your questions in at any time during the presentation. We'll collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and you'll receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to view the recording. Chris and I have each been in the business for more than 25 years and with Synergis for 16 and 25 years respectively. We've learned a lot over the years and we're excited to share with you the value Adept provides and to answer any questions you may have. So the format for today is that I'll start things off with a brief introduction to Synergis and Adept, along with a brief process industry success story, before turning things over to Chris, who will share a live demonstration geared towards organizations like yours. And at the end, I'll make a few important announcements and then we'll take your questions. So with that, let's get started. Synergis Software, our mission is to free you from operational chaos and inertia so you can make the difference in the world you want to make. That's why we're committed to delivering simple, powerful engineering information management solutions. Synergis has been developing, implementing, and supporting engineering information management, document management, and product data management solutions for more than 26 years. Our flagship product, Adept, helps companies find, manage, share, and control engineering and business content throughout the plant, facility, or product lifecycle. More than 70,000 worldwide users benefit from Adept across a variety of industries. And our customers range from process manufacturers to utilities, mining and metals, oil and gas, those with buildings and facilities to manage, engineering and construction contractors, pharmaceuticals, and discrete or industrial manufacturers, to name a few. The simplicity of Adept is key. Dr. Joel Orr of Scion Research called it simple power, and we think that says it all. It's an enterprise solution that's incredibly easy to implement, use, and maintain, offering unmatched time to value and ROI. We're honored to work with some amazing organizations and great people. Here's just a small sampling, and you'll see chemical manufacturers like Dow, Evonik, and Lucite, as well as mining and process organizations like Iron Ore Company of Canada and Mosaic Potash. We work with pipelines like Buckeye, Sunoco, and Colonial Pipeline, and pharmaceuticals like Teva and Bayer. And pulling from a variety of other industries, our customers also include organizations like Nike, General Mills, FedEx, Amazon, the IRS, and Eversource Energy, to name a few. So before we launch into the live demonstration, I'd like to share a brief overview of how one of our most successful process industry customers, the Dow Chemical Company, has achieved great success with Adept. Greg Schuler, the Global Manager of Engineering Collaboration with Dow, delivered an hour-long case study and best practices presentation about a month ago. And the following are some highlights of the Dow story. So Dow's the world's largest chemical company. And there are really two key points from this slide. First, Dow has 180 sites in 35 countries, so there's a great need to collaborate and share information across those sites. Second, Dow is not only an owner-operator, but is also a very large engineering house, employing more than 2,000 to 3,000 people that do detailed engineering. So they're not only a user of engineering information, but they're a creator of engineering content. So there were synergies across those two communities. So what is the problem Dow was trying to solve? Well, they're a very Six Sigma focused company. They take a very methodical approach to solving problems. So in 2009, a project was identified to address how Dow manages as-built engineering documents. The project discovered that Dow had more than 20 different applications around the world that managed this type of document, and many were homegrown, past their support time, had resources at imminent risk of retirement, and some were even VAX-based. The problem was that the deficiencies in those systems could lead to situations where people might lose critical documents. They might use an outdated version of a document. People might see things they weren't supposed to see. And there was high friction for sharing of information across sites. The team recommended a specific solution to consolidate these applications and deploy a commercial, centrally supported system to improve document availability, security, and workflow. So how did they go about vendor selection? Dow used a very systematic approach. They looked at their existing systems and extracted from that 85 very specific functionality needs and prioritized them into must-have, nice-to-have, etc. They went out into the market and got information from 8 vendors. They got very detailed information from 4, and then had sort of an install-off, proof of concept with 2 finalists. And Greg presented this here on the slide as part of his justification to the steering team to move forward with Adept. This is from his original slide in 2011. Their pilot required import of 100,000 documents, which we were able to do with Adept in about 3 days, while also showing we could address their requirements. The other solution had taken a few months. Greg also noted the Adept product was mature, had thousands of users around the world, and was purpose-built for engineering document management. Adept met all of their requirements without any customization, all configuration, no coding. Therefore, it was the lowest risk with the highest probability of success. Greg shares that the assessment in 2017 is still accurate today. Now, almost all of their Adept implementation projects are at Dow engineering and manufacturing sites. Projects range from small to very large, ranging from 5,000 to 1.25 million documents, the latter being a documentum migration. And most of their documents are MicroStation, AutoCAD, and PDF, although they support over 200 different file formats. And their user profile is mostly site engineering and drafting, as well as operations and maintenance. I won't talk through the entire unfolding of Adept at Dow, but it's currently in use for both as-builts as well as capital projects, and the scope continues to expand. In this case, scope creep has been a great thing, as more and more groups at Dow are asking to have their projects managed by Adept in the shortest time frame possible. It's a good problem for Greg and his team to have. Dow has about 4,000 named users around the world so far today, and it's constantly growing. According to Greg, here are some of the high-level benefits that Dow is enjoying from their use of Adept. Going back to the original objective, a single global portal to quickly access files via searchable metadata. This is paying off huge for Dow, with lost opportunity savings estimated at $10 million per year. Beyond those efficiencies, Greg shared a story from Bloomberg called Stealing White, about how a corporate spy shared plans about a DuPont plant in Delaware, now part of Dow, that included critical trade secrets. This put DuPont's $2.6 billion business at risk due to loss of IP. While document management software can't fully prevent IP theft on its own, it provides a complete audit trail for each document throughout its life cycle and can track and report based on who looked at or copied out what information. Another objective was to enable global engineering collaboration. Using SharePoint or file shares as a way to share and collaborate on documents across geographic locations was impractical at Dow due to performance and usability. Adept's Vault replication enabled documents to be local to everyone working on the project, which had a huge impact on performance and usability. Adept's workflow capabilities simplified collaboration on projects around the world, automating routing and notification throughout the defined processes. And Dow, like all companies, is subject to a variety of regulations. Adept is making a difference in export control, OSHA 1910, and their records retention compliance, to name a few. Dow is also accelerating post-project data handover. The output of these capital engineering projects is a set of tens of thousands of documents. The opportunity is to keep all supplier content in one system, in Adept, with a well-documented workflow, to move that information in a digital fashion directly from Adept to, well, Adept. You have an all-electronic plant library built around the Adept as-built system. With that, Dow can reduce handoff time from months to weeks. That's a big cost savings for your project and also has an impact by getting the information to your site quicker for project startup. And if you ensure there's good quality metadata about the plan or the project in the system, you're making it easier to find information and documents for the 30-year life of that facility. People will be thankful for you maybe long after you've retired. And finally, with all the benefits Dow is receiving, Adept is having a very direct impact on accelerating project startup. Even if only by 1 or 2 days, this is very significant at Dow. If you look at a 1,500 kmt large-scale ethylene facility, depending on the margin, may mean $1.6 million per day of gross profit. In a small facility, this could be upwards of $1 million per day. Well, that's highly dependent on the market at the time, but it gives you a rough idea of the value you can generate. This can dwarf some of the other ways you can look at value and ROI, which are also substantial. Before I transition the presentation to Chris, we'd like to take a quick poll, and we ask for your participation. So what are the most important benefits you want in an engineering information management solution? If you could take a moment to review the potential answers here and give us your input, we'll display the results. And here you can select all that apply. Is it easy access? Is it document control, collaboration, automating workflow, or enabling compliance? And we'll give just another moment here. And let's close out the poll. And it looks like in this audience, it's a close race, but collaboration across departments seems to be the number one, along document control and security. Easy access also very high. Great, thank you for that. And so I'll summarize Adept's value proposition at the end and make a couple of announcements. But at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Chris Fabry to introduce you to Adept and demonstrate how it may be able to help your organization. So let me pass that over to Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scott. All right. So with Adept, there's actually a few different ways for you to gain access to your files. One of them is through the web clients. We're looking at Adept Reviewer right now. Another is through an integration right inside of AutoCAD. This can also be SolidWorks and Inventor. We'll talk more about that. And yet another is through a desktop application. We're going to cover a little bit of each of these, but we're going to start today in the desktop application, and we'll come back to the others. So whether you're in a design mode, searching for drawings, or on the plant floor, performing maintenance and searching for manuals or as-built design documents, finding the right file and the right version is critical. Now, one method of searching in Adept is using a search card. Here we can type in multiple pieces of information or just one. In this case, I've put in part of a plant name and I've chosen a discipline to perform a search, and I get a set of results that match that criteria. Anytime you perform a search, the columns of data can be configured by each user. They can add and remove columns. You can even set them up a certain way to be shared with others so that they can use them to arrange the documents in a way that makes sense to them. So every document in Adept automatically has a data card associated with it, and every customer of ours has a different, unique-looking library card. This one was configured for a specific group of designers that I have, that I wanted them to be able to see this information arranged in a way that they're used to. This area I configured to look just like their drawing title block, so there was that early acceptance. But you're going to have other groups that really want to see different information arranged in a different way, and rather than trying to put everything into one card that one group might need, you can create multiple cards as an administrator. So for example, some of these tabs might be different for a group of project managers. They might want a thumbnail, a memo, and they might have an approvals tab with information that other groups can't see. So all of this can be targeted towards each group. There's also pull-down fields, so you select from a list so people aren't typing information incorrectly. There's also related fields, so the selection of one field will drive the options for the next, which could drive the options for the next, and so on. As you saw, a quick peek at the memo field where people can communicate with each other, insert images, and have discussions, and then a thumbnail just to get a quick peek at the file. Now, all of this data can be used for searching in other ways. One method is using a quick search. Perhaps I'm looking for a file and I know part of the file name. I can choose file name, type that in, and now every file that I have access to that begins with LAY is listed. Very, very fast. Now, if 90% of the time you don't know the file name, maybe when you go looking for it, you know what plant it's in or some other information, you can choose whatever field is useful to you. So in this case, I know the plant name. Here's every file for the West Canyon plant. Very, very fast. Also in this list, you may have noticed full text search. Perhaps I'm looking for a file and I know that the word initial is on that document. Here's every file with the word initial. Or maybe I'm looking for a harness, a P6 harness inside of a file. We know that that's going to be discontinued. If I type this in, here is every document that has that referenced somewhere in it. So very quickly I was able to get to the files that have that somewhere in the drawing. They don't have to be part of the title block. It just has to be text inside of the file. And that full text search will work on a lot of file types, but not all. For example, the full text search really isn't focused on photographs or images, but a lot of other file types. Another use of that data is used in the file guide view, and this is something that's very unique to Adept. The file guide view will sort the documents based on data that you're tracking. So for example, I might want to sort everything by the project name. After I go to a certain project name, then I want to see a specific discipline after that. So I can go right to the composite drawings for this project. Now, this might work out great for one group of users, but another group may want them sorted in a different way. This looks like a Windows folder structure, but really it's a data structure and can be changed just from a pick. So I found it using the project name and the discipline. Another group may say they want to see things based on the plant name first. Then after going to a plant name, then they want to see a project number and then a discipline. I'm getting to the exact same file. I'm just sorting them based on information that I understand. So these can be created by administrators for your users. In fact, quite often when we help our customers implement Adept, we'll ask each of the different groups or teams, what are the 2 or 3 general things you know about your files when you go looking for them? And the answer to that question is typically a great starting point for a file guide view that will be meaningful for them. Now, I've got a couple different ones in here I can choose from. One of them is based on workflow statuses. Maybe I want to see everything that's going through a workflow approval process, and I'd really like to see only the ones in this workflow and on this step of the process. So again, very quick to sort. Now, for those users that were very comfortable with the old folder structure before Adept was put in place, that's still here inside of Adept. This is your existing folder structure. So I can very quickly find my files. If I know the folder structures, I can drill down through subfolders to get to those documents. That's one method. Most customers, after they first start using Adept, they might fall back on this occasionally, but after Adept is in place for a little bit, this usually becomes more of a tool for administrators to be able to set up different security, different workflow, and access points. Now, you may notice down here, this is the document dashboard. All the searching that we've done, whether it's full text search, the file guide views, or just creating any kind of a search result, you only find the latest version of that file, period. It's only when you've got it selected and click on the Versions tab that you can see older versions. So Adept keeps these out of your main line of sight, so you're not finding them by accident. And please keep in mind that some users will have no access to these older versions, whereas other users that need to can go back to an old version. Maybe they got some bad information or a project was canceled. They need to bring that one to the front of the line, or maybe they're creating a new design based off of an older version of a file. They'll be able to do that right from this list. Also down here we can see an audit trail. Scott mentioned the different regulations, whether it's OSHA or ISO or 21 CFR Part 11 for pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot of them out there. This audit trail is keeping track of everything that happens to that file. If somebody views it, if they update data, if they check it out, check it in, approve it, reject it, print it, mark it up, anything, including, as Scott mentioned, copying out of files. Also down here we have children. So this is keeping track of all the relationships between CAD files, and Adept reads these natively from the CAD file formats. But you can also create your own relationships between documents. I can also look at where used. So I know if I modify this drawing, I'm going to affect this other drawing that's referencing it, as well as this change notice and this letter of transmittal that were related to that document. And then also down here we have a thumbnail, and I see a lot of people leaving that on as a quick peek at the file that they're looking for, but that is just a quick peek. Integrated with every license of Adept, the desktop or the web clients, and also the CAD integration, is a viewer from Oracle that will enable all Adept users to view hundreds and hundreds of file formats without requiring those applications on their system. So instead of putting very expensive CAD software, just so somebody can view a file, they can just have the Adept system in place. This will enable people to zoom in and out. They can turn layers on and off. And the integration is the key word there, integrated, because we can help you control what users are doing. For example, right here I can print, I can mark up, I can even convert this to a PDF or a JPEG or a TIFF or some other file format. But that's my access rights. Another group that's viewing the same drawing, those items might be grayed out for them. They might not have printing rights. They may not have convert or markup abilities. And the markup tools are very simple and straightforward. I can come in and put in a small note in here, and I'm going to just say delete old tanks. And you can see down at the bottom, I'm logged in right now as Adam. It says that Adam made that comment on this date and this time. If somebody else comes in and they add their own comments or their own icons, you can create your own images to be able to put in here. It'll keep track of their comments all together in one place. So no longer do you need to go and save hard copy plots and have people mark them up and then track those documents around. Adept actually manages all this information for you. So now you'll notice in a second, here it goes, there's now a marker, a red marker next to the file indicating that that's been redlined or marked up. So everybody's aware of it. And Adept tracks that for each particular version as well. Next, let's take a peek at the integration inside of AutoCAD. So right inside of AutoCAD is the Adept task pane. This enables users to search based on any field that they want. I can pick and choose which ones are most important to me. We also have the different file guide views. Whenever you've got files listed, you can see a thumbnail as well as all the relationship information. So immediately I can tell that nobody is editing any of the other drawings that are referenced by this one. That's great information that you don't get from a Windows folder. Over here I can decide what action. Do I just want to open it read-only? And then after I close it, have Adept get rid of it for me automatically. That was a big wish list item from our user community that just wanted to look at a file in AutoCAD but not check it out and have to remember to delete it extra or have extra copies floating around. My other option is to check it out, or I can copy it and give it a new file name to create a new design. In this case, I want to check it out. I just simply drag and drop. Adept knows that these other drawings are required in order to be able to see the entire drawing. So it loads them up in the background automatically for me. I didn't have to go find them. I didn't have to go and try to check them out separately. They're all right here inside of the design. Now, in this example, I'm just going to try to make a real simple change in model space. I'm just going to go and delete these tanks here. Oops, I got to select that. And perhaps it's going to allow me. Let's try this one more time. There we go. So I can select those tanks. I'm just going to make a real simple change here. I'm also going to update the revision. The attributes that you see in the title block here, you can either A, enable users to do what I just did and modify them when they're ready to update the revision, or B, you can have Adept automatically bump up that revision from 2 to 3 or A to B based on a trigger. And that trigger could be upon sign-in. It could be also upon the end of a workflow process. Meanwhile, while I'm working on that file inside of AutoCAD, if anybody else goes looking for that file, they'll be able to see right away that it's currently signed out, in this case to Adam, who I'm logged in as. Everybody's very aware of that. Nobody can sign it out or check it out while I have it checked out. But now that I'm done with it, I'm ready to check it back in. This could begin a workflow process. This particular folder, I've set up a predefined process that I want to happen whenever a file goes into this folder. And part of that process could be an email notification that will automatically notify somebody with a link inside of the file and let them know what process is happening and who's assigned to it. Also, you'll notice that Adept is able to go and extract that information and update the data in the data card. So the revision is already updated here as well. So the data in the data card is linked, in this example, to attributes inside of the drawing. And we do the same thing with properties and other file formats. You're going to see a change request or an Excel spreadsheet in a little while that we do the same thing with. Now, this file is going through a workflow process. Down here, I can see it's on the CAD Manager step. I can even ask Adept who is responsible for approving or rejecting it on this step. And it looks like we've got a few people that have the ability to approve it on this step of the workflow. They can very quickly look at the work in progress version to look at the last approved version as well as the one that needs a review. In fact, you can open them both up at the same time and compare them to see in color what's different with them. Now, if I'm happy with these changes, I can also approve this document from here. In this case, I set up a required comment just to make sure people were paying attention to what they were approving. And in this case, Adam says it looks great. And now down in the workflow tab, we can see that he commented on it on this date and this time, and we're waiting for 2 approvals from the project managers. As soon and once they approve it, the document will go to an in status and become the new official version. Now, that file is going to go through a workflow. Some of our customers just simply right-click and assign that file to somebody to work on. Others will create a formal document to go along with it, a change notice. And that too can be done inside of Adept. You can put all of your company templates right inside of Adept. This can be a simple change request. In this case, I'm going to give it an automatic naming convention I've set up beforehand that I want to see either ECR or ECN or ECO at the beginning based on what I choose. That'll put in the first set of letters, and then Adept in this case is assigning it a next available number. This is my convention. You folks can set up your own naming conventions. Now this change request, this one is just a Word document. I think I said Excel spreadsheet earlier, but this one's a Word document, and just very simply I can come in and I can add in this information. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see here, I'm just going to add in a number, and I'll add in some other information. Oops. There we go. Oh. That was odd. All right, let me try this one more time. Yeah, I think I did something to the document. I'm not sure why. Oh, new Windows threw me off there. There we go. Let's see here. Short description. Delete tanks. And all right. So this is propertied information that will automatically be read into your Adept database. So you'll notice in a second, Adept is now reading that new information, and if I look at the data card, I can see exactly what I just typed in. So very, very quickly, I can fill out a form but not have to retype all the information in here. Or I could have done it in the opposite order. I could have come into the card, checked off this box, and filled in the information here, and it would have updated the document automatically. Very, very useful. And then many of our customers will then decide that this change request should be related to other documents. And here's what I was referring to earlier, the ability to create relationships between documents. I'm going to go back to the plant organization, so I can go to West Canyon, and I'm most interested in the composite. This one right here. I could also select other files that they may need to see while they're in there. Perhaps there is a group of supporting documents. There's some images that somebody took, a specification document. These can all be listed in that relationship. The idea is very straightforward. When somebody finds this change request, immediately I want them to have access to these other files. I don't want them to have to go hunting through other folders to find them. They're pulled together as a package. Now, along that same lines, after the end of a process, you may decide that you need these documents to be sent out to a group of people. Adept has a transmittal feature that provides fully auditable process. It allows you to quickly create and track packages of documents internally as well as externally. I've got one here that I had started to create, and I'll edit it. Now, Adept automates this process, so I can select a specific company. I can pick certain people from that company. I can create a distribution list of people that this is going to notify. And these are all configurable. These are all a little bit different. I've got some fields that are a selection. How am I going to send this? Maybe it's going to be by email. I can put in some notes. Job data that I type in might fill in several fields, so I don't have to retype those every single time. And I can also create attachments. So at this point, I can go and pick which files I would like to go with this. And in this example, I need it to go with these drawings right here. I'm going to pick some different ones here. Those are the ones that are going out in this transmittal. Now, you'll notice when I come back to my transmittal document, the relationships are all intact. And if we preview this, it's also filled in all the information that we selected in the editing dialog box, as well as all the information about each of the files, so I don't have to hand create these lists. And Adept comes with a form generator, so you folks get to design your own forms. This is just my example of one here. Now, I'm going to check in this transmittal, and for my case, this is not going to go through a review process, but we've got many customers that do that. They might have Chris and Sandy able to go and create transmittals and check them in, but they really want somebody to go and review those before they get sent out. So in this case, I've gone in and I've selected the 13998, this one right here, and when I send it out, you'll notice I've got several different options. I can type in my subject, And down below, I can decide what is it I want to send in this along with this. Do I want to just send the transmittal by itself? Perhaps my attachments are too big and I need to put them on an FTP site or a shared folder in some fashion. Or maybe I want to just send them Adept links. Maybe I'm doing this internally and they're desktop users. Or they might be a web user. I can send them a URL, and that way nothing goes in my email except for the link. And even if that email gets forwarded on to somebody else, the link will do them no good because it brings them to a login, and they'll have to log in to be able to get that access. Or I can include all the documents. There's even options to zip it up, put a password on it, encrypt it, or even convert each of these to a PDF and send the PDF in place of the drawings. Whatever it is you end up choosing, when you're done, you can then send it off, and Adept will create the email, package everything up, and get it ready to be sent. Now, this is all searchable information. So later on, I can create a search for all transmittals sent to a certain company or all transmittals sent to a certain contact, and I can locate those. So 6, 9, 10 months from now, 3 years from now, if anybody says, hey, these files that were sent to us a long time ago seem to be wrong, that will be very quickly searchable in Adept rather than hunting through everybody's email for copies that were sent out to verify that. All right, next area I want to get into is the web client. So Adept's web client gives you the ability to access all those documents from just a browser. And we have two web clients. One is Adept Explorer and one is Adept Reviewer. The Reviewer access client really gives you the added ability to approve and reject, take part in the workflow. It also gives you the ability to edit some of the data in the data cards. The Explorer works exactly the same. We still have the same ability to go to a library browser to go through the actual folders. There's also the file guides that we saw earlier. There's the inbox to see which files have been assigned to you currently. Or what files need your attention. If you're going to be reviewing any, you'll see all those listed here as well if you're part of that process. But you'll notice on the, actually before I come back to the home page, we also have search on file name, and there's full text search in any field you want. But you'll also notice in the web client we've added these action buttons down below. I can very easily upload or download files if I have the rights to, but I've shared some favorites and some saved searches with this user. This is Martin, and I saved him one called Canyon, West Canyon plant, so he doesn't have to perform any search. He just simply clicks on the button and it brings him to the files that are part of that project that he has access to, making it even easier for web users to find what they're supposed to be working on. We have the same viewing ability that you saw in the desktop is also in the web client. And again, this requires no CAD or Office software on your system. This will very easily enable people to be able to view exactly what's being viewed in the desktop. It also, on your server. It also will show watermarks based on the status of the document. In this case, it says waiting approval, and you can increase the size of that as well. But that way, people aren't making prints without realizing something was happening with the file at that time. Also, down at the bottom here, we've got the document dashboard. This is enabling you to see all the same information that you saw on the desktop with different versions. And there's also the ability to create reports. Maybe I want to export a list of files. I can go and select multiple files and export that out to an Excel spreadsheet. Very, very useful. And if I'm done with, if I've got the rights to download, I can even get a copy of these files. So it doesn't have to be just search, view, and print. You can also gain copies. At this point, I think we're all set. We're going to hand it back to you, Scott.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Chris. And I have just a few announcements, and then we'll move right into our Q&A session. But first, let me briefly summarize the value Adept provides process manufacturers and even the EPCs they may be partnering with. So Adept provides a consistent interface for global document access and control. It ensures everyone's on the same page, a single version of the truth. There's simple, fast ways to find documents no matter where you or the documents are located. And Adept helps protect your intellectual property and provides granular control over document access. We help you collaborate across departments, sites, and with external partners. And Adept includes powerful visualization, markup, and compare capabilities for hundreds of different file formats, all in one integrated viewing solution. Adept automates manual workflow and approval processes, and where capital projects are involved, we accelerate handoff between owner-operator and EPC. Adept simplifies compliance with industry standards and regulations and streamlines internal audits. The solution is integrated with mainstream CAD applications like AutoCAD, MicroStation, Inventor, SolidWorks, Ares Prism project cost management solutions, Microsoft Office, and more. And Adept integrates easily with your other enterprise business systems, whether ERP, work order management, or otherwise. All of this means great things for our clients in the form of faster project or product delivery, more efficient operations, improved quality, lower costs, reduced risk, and easy access to relevant data for better decision making. So our last poll question of the day, we want to hear where you folks are in your engineering information management journey. Are you actively evaluating solutions to implement within a year, just starting to research now, looking to replace an existing solution, or happy with an existing solution you may have in place, or there's just no interest at this time, and perhaps you're just in the wrong place today. So let's take a look. We'll give it another moment. All right, and it looks like a three-way tie. Looking to replace an existing solution, happy with an existing solution, and no interest at this time. All right, so let's take our next step. So what are your next steps after this webinar? So if you're ready to learn how Adept might address your unique requirements, you can sign up now for a free consultation with a Synergis consultant. We've just pushed out a link in the chat window of your GoToWebinar panel for you to sign up now. If you don't see the link, please let us know in the chat window. And following your consultation, assuming there's a good fit, we can schedule a one-on-one demonstration to demonstrate how Adept can help your organization specifically. Alternately, you can call our toll-free number displayed on this slide. That's Brian Staley's extension. He can begin the conversation with you. And there's a great video interview with Greg Schuler of Dow Chemical on our homepage that we encourage you to check out. And Dow's complete presentation on their best practices is available in our demo center. I believe in the handouts section of your GoToWebinar panel, there's a Dow case study as well. We highly recommend that you visit our demo and resource centers on the website to view over 40 videos and 20 articles and white papers at synergissoftware.com. And don't forget to check out our blog, which has over 60 great articles that address trends and topics about the engineering information management industry. So as we move to the Q&A, this concludes the presentation portion of today's webinar. So let me first say thank you to everyone who joined us on the call today. On behalf of Chris Fabry and the entire Synergis team, we sincerely appreciate your time and hope you found it valuable. Please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know how we can be of service to you.